I'm John Mincarelli from Recovery Advocates of America, and I'm also a recovering addict. I've been in everybody's seat except for the parent. I'm fortunate enough to have a 33-year-old daughter that has one pina colada on a cruise and thinks she did something. She calls me, "Hey, I'm tipsy." I'm like, "Okay, good." Right? But I'm that guy that stuck needles anywhere I could, did everything I had to do to get one more, okay? Turned my life around through a 12-step program, okay? Wasn't successful the very first time in 1984. And I watch, right, as everybody's talking, and I watch the reaction of your husband and the pain, right? The addict gets high, the family suffers, without a doubt. That's just what happens, okay? And there's a healing that has to happen from the addict, but there's also a healing that has to happen with the family. Because if the addict comes back into that same environment, we get the same result. And that's just what happens. What saddens me is this room should be packed. This room should be packed. Everybody knows somebody. Oprah knows somebody, Obama knows somebody, John knows somebody, you know somebody. Everybody knows somebody, and it is an epidemic, and it is a disease. And people scratch their head. Why do you say it's a disease? Well, because it's progressive, it's incurable, and it's fatal. Those are the three things, characteristics that make a disease. A cold is a disease. If you don't fix it, it will turn to pneumonia and you will die. Progressive, incurable, fatal. So let me tell you a little bit about Recovery Advocates. What we do is we like to say we take them from active addiction to sustained recovery. Okay? Anything and anything they need. We help them with housing. We help them get into treatment. We cut through the red tape of the treatment centers and the insurances. Okay? If there's co-pays, we try to get them waived, and we try to do the things that is necessary, because guess what? Families don't have money. So when your insurance company says, okay, you know, you can come to treatment, Billy, but we need $2,500 out of pocket, and the family's going, look, Billy just took us through financial hell. I don't have a dime, right? So we try to, you know, negotiate that and try to get that, you know, not waived, but try to say, listen, you know, this family has a hardship. What can we do, you know? Instead of just saying we're not going to take them. The other thing we do is, you know, like I said, you know, somebody's going into sober living. We try to find good sober living for them. We've been doing this for about 8 years now. We're a non-for-profit. We charge nothing for our services. We do interventions. We do transportation if people have to get to the airport or whatever the case may be. I have a woman that's flying home from Florida. She's a hardcore alcoholic, and every time she went to treatment, you know, she gets to the airport, 30 days treatment, she's fine, she's in that plastic bubble, she gets to the airport, by the time she gets to Philly, she doesn't know where she's at. So we're flying out there to Florida to fly back with her to make sure she gets home safe. Those are the things we do. We don't charge anything for that. We were fortunate enough to start the CARE program with Robbinsville Police Department, Sergeant Kivett. We put in the SOPs, and it's taken off. Hopewell's doing it. We're with 9 different police departments now at this point. If there's no violent crime, they give us a call. We come in and do the intervention. We try to place them within 24 hours. Hopefully we can, whether they have insurance or no insurance. Okay, if somebody has insurance, it's real easy to place them in the treatment. Okay, make a couple phone calls, but if they don't, now it's a challenge. You know, Medicaid, Medicare, no insurance, it makes it a little different. But we've been very successful. I think we're at an 87% success rate with the CARE program, which is like phenomenal. And some you lose contact with. You know, as addicts, we're good at selling our cell phones and, you know, doing that kind of stuff, and you know, or just not answering the phone. You know, the one thing that we really try to provide is aftercare. When they come home from treatment, what do? Either they go back to hang out with their old friends, or they're going to get involved. A lot of young people don't know how to write resumes. They don't know how to do their laundry. They don't know how to do a lot of things. You know, so we provide a safe haven for them to do those things. You know, a place where they can come during the day, a place where we have 12-step meetings. We have Naranon meetings. We have a counselor, a licensed addiction counselor that does groups for free. We have a group twice a month called Broken Hearts for people that lost loved ones to addiction. We have relapse prevention. We have just a nice resource of people, places where people can come. It's real important. We're starting a new group next month called Recovery Yoga. I don't know nothing about it. I'm 60 years old. I'm not doing no yoga. Okay? Other than like maybe this pose. I'll do that pose. That's it. Okay. But the one thing that I like, and I heard this word a lot, right? We talk about hope. The only thing we can give an addict, right? And I'm a recovering addict, and I understand this, is hope. If I don't have hope that I can get better, I will never try. It makes sense, right? We live in a world of denial. Denial makes it impossible to detect my reality. So when I'm sleeping under a bridge, or I'm sticking needles in my arm, or I'm getting high, right? And somebody says, "Are you okay?" I'm good. I'm okay. And the denial, I believe it. She said it. We're the best manipulators. We're the best liars. And what we use, the tool that we use the best, is the word love. If you love me, you give me $20. You don't love me, you're throwing me out of the house. You don't love me, you didn't pay for my cell phone. Right? And we use that word and we use that manipulation to get what we want. And as parents and as loved ones, our heart breaks because that's what we want. We want our person to be well so bad, we will do anything. And what we do is we love them to death. Literally. We literally love them to death. And that's the hard part. There's no rule or handbook that tells you how to be a parent and tells you that this is the right way to get somebody into treatment. But I've gone in to do interventions in the family. I need to know what your bottom line is. What is your bottom line? And I've had families like have a bag packed, either go to treatment or get out. And I'm a parent. I don't know. Like, I can tell you to do it, and I can guide you through it. But God bless you. God bless you. Because that's got to be the hardest thing. And I tell them, right, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, except bury your child. Because when I go to funerals, and I go to countless, they look at me and with that look like I'm supposed to have an answer, and I don't have an answer. I'm just this guy that happens to be between you and God, that has some information to maybe, just maybe, help your child or your husband. A lady was texting me today talking about, geez, I just found 150 Oxycontins and needles, and the guy's like in his 50s, right? She said, what do I do? I said, well, you have to make a stand. She says, it doesn't matter to him. I think his health will be the bottom line. And sometimes, because they don't believe in themselves. He talked about it. We have fear. When I gave up my drug, I was afraid to live life. Because I only use for two reasons. Every addict only uses for two reasons. Because I want to feel a certain way, or I don't want to feel a certain way. It's my birthday, it's Christmas, let me party. I want to feel a certain way. I had a divorce, I'm in pain, I don't want to feel. Those are the only two reasons. That's what it comes down to. And when you take away my crutch, what do I do? How do I live life on life's terms? I don't understand, because I never had to. I always had a drug or something else to carry me through. So at Recovery Advocates, we try to educate. We're not going to arrest our way out of it. The officer said that. We're not going to. This is too big, too fast. So we have to educate. Education is power. And that will help us. We're never going to win it, but we can make a difference. When it was in a different community, we really didn't look at it. But now it's in our community. It's in Hopewell. It's in the nice farmland. It's in the place where you never thought it would be, and here it is. And so we're so behind the time that we will never catch up. Right? Opioids have been around since the poppy has grown. We're never going to catch up to it. But we have to figure out how we're going to live with it and make a difference. Too many young people are dying. Too many old people are dying. The number is what, 83 a day? 176 a day. Wow. In the nation. Yeah. Okay? That's a lot.
6 die in New Jersey every day. It is the minimum rate started like last week.
Think about that. Right? Think about that for a minute. So eventually, I don't know anybody in this room on a personal, well, I know a few on a personal level, right? But eventually it's going to be one of yours. And it might not be your husband, it might not be your wife, but it might be your nephew, it might be your second cousin. It might be somebody that's close. So what do? We have to use these resources. We have to allow the government and the community to fund these resources. We're a non-for-profit. So we have a few major fundraisers a year, okay, to help these people pay for things that they can't. And if we don't get some kind of funding, what happens? We no longer exist. Listen, I don't make $1 bazillion. I don't, right? And we all know that there's these things that go on in Florida where people are, we call them body snatchers, and, they're making money and they're billing insurance companies and they're doing this, that, and the other, right? We don't do that, right? We take it one person at a time and make a difference in the community. Why? In 1984, they didn't have this for me. They talked about, let's throw them in a tub of ice. They talked about, let's do a lobotomy. Let's give them electric shock therapy. They didn't have Suboxone, they didn't have Subutex, they didn't have none of these programs that they have now. So I owe it to the next addict coming up, right? Because this young man didn't die, she didn't die, your son didn't die, right? They didn't have fentanyl when I was a kid, right? When she talked about, it was absurd. They wouldn't give me.
Lidocaine patches,
why?
patches to put on my back. They stick.
You know why? Because I would have ate them. I would have smoked them. I would have, for real, I would have figured out a way, right? The fentanyl patches, they smoke them. Or they chew on them. Right? I've worked in treatment centers for the past 10 years. I've had clients take the little alcohol swabs that, you do before the doctor gives you a needle and suck on them. This is the lengths that we go. Nothing is out of balance with an addict. If you think you got to figure it out, guess again. I'm 5 steps ahead of you. I'm an addict I had almost 11 years clean, and I relapsed. I'm coming up on 10 years, okay? A little scary time for me. 10 years, done work, sponsors, sponsees, all that stuff, right? Work in the field, got it all together. I'm wondering what you got in your purse. Because give me 2 seconds, I'll figure it out. I'll walk into Walmart with $400 in my pocket and steal a pack of gum. Because it's the nature of who I am. I'm always an addict, okay? The personality is John. The principle is I'm an addict. And my mind is always churning, trying to figure out another way to do it better. So if I use because I don't want to feel, and then I use and I feel like garbage because I use it, I let the whole world down, guess what? I want to use again because I don't want to feel bad. And I'm just on that relentless gerbil hamster wheel. Educate. Talk to an addict. Don't talk at an addict. We are good people with a bad problem. Learn who we are. My mother used to say, why can't you just stop? And I used to look at her and be like, I don't know. My father in a hospital dying, and I'm sitting in the bed next to him using. Stuff that doesn't make sense in the real world. Eating out of dumpsters and doing the things that we do to get one more. And addiction is a lot different for women than it is for men. When you get out there on the street, you're going to do things that you never thought you would do. Because of a $4 bag that's got your name written all over it. And you can't help yourself. And you don't know why. You have no idea why. If you asked anybody up here that's an addict, why did you do the things you did? Because I didn't want to get dope sick. That's about the best answer you're going to get. Right? We talk about our morals. We still have our morals, but we sold them out the door. So we have to re-educate ourselves as addicts. We have to re-educate our families as the suffering, right? I was in a school a couple weeks ago because I speak at a lot of schools, and I was telling the kids, about the lifestyle I led as an addict, et cetera. And, they were 16 years old. And the kid said to me, what's the biggest thing you ever stole? And without hesitation, I said, my mother's sleep. I stole my mother's sleep countless times. She's 90 years old today. right? Not today, but she's 90 years old today. April 1st, actually. And we had this big dinner dance, one of our fundraisers for recovery advocates, and my sponsor was there. And he had never met my mother. And he came up and he started talking to her. We introduced each other, you know. And he said, you know, you must be really proud of him. And she started crying. And she said, yeah. My daughter, who I took through hell, okay? My second year clean, she called me up. She always remembers my anniversary. And she said, my little boy grew up. Because this was a 16-year-old girl that I used to take into the crack houses and let the crack people watch her while I got high. She had to see a psychiatrist because of my addiction. We don't know the pain that we cause. Yeah, I stole my mother's sleep. Yeah, I took my daughter through hell. But guess what? There's a lot of other people that I took through hell. We hurt a lot of people, but most of all, we harm ourselves. But it's a time to give back. It's a time to educate. It's a time to take this organization, you know, from a little grassroots organization. I get calls from all over the country. Our team is always, we work 7 days a week. There's only 4 of us, okay? The others couldn't be here tonight. And it never stops, and sometimes I just want to give up. You know, they die. I had 4 young people close to me die in 2 weeks. And sometimes I just want to give up and throw in the towel because I don't see, sometimes I ask, what's the point? What's the point, you know? And I guess the point is so that the next one doesn't die. And hopefully we can make a difference. So, you know, that's pretty much all I got. Thanks for listening.